Ugh. Let me now I'm recording. Ah,
No problem. I was wanted to log on just to make sure I was logged on.
yeah,
All right.
much better week. Uh, health wise, I'm over I'm over the swine flu, although
Oh, good.
everyone in my family has it now, so um, it's the gift that keeps on giving. Um,
Sure.
uh, we did we had midterms and all my students showed up. I'm supposed to have 15 students, but as you can see in video, there's usually like six. There's usually six of
Right.
them that come. Um, they're just there uh, to get their little piece of paper. It is what it is. Um, I gave them a simple exam, as simple as I could, so that everybody had
Mhm.
an equal chance to pass. Even though I don't think that's fair to the students who've been there all semester, but
Mhm.
that's what keeps me employed. So sometimes you have to grin and bear it. So
Yeah, I mean, with these guys, I mean, they're seniors, they're graduating.
yeah,
It's the it's getting close to the end of the semester, right?
yeah. But
Yeah.
I, I don't know. I thought this class was a lot better than the previous one. Um, I I may have gone overboard and annotated everything, um, but actually, I like doing that because it helped me reflect on what I did well and what I needed to work on. So I think that was a really good exercise for me instead of just leaving it up to um, you to kind of figure out where I was, so I could kind of guide.
Yeah, I thought the annotations are great because you put up, okay, now I'm targeting this in test standard or guided question. So it really allowed me to focus on what you were teaching and how that aligned to the standard. So yeah, I loved it. That was great. And then I would make a note. I was like, oh, okay, so that's great.
Yeah, especially when Elizabeth made she I was going to correct her, but then she corrected herself, and then I wrote high five in the annotation because I could see the wheels turning. I could see the wheels
Yeah.
turning, and um, after she made her mistake, I could see it, and I was gonna say something, but then I backed off because I thought maybe she would be able to correct it herself. Um,
Nice.
so that was good, and usually she doesn't speak. I mean, I've only seen her 5 times all year, but in those 5 times all
Uh,
year, she has not spoken once. So obviously, this was something that she was good at. Okay. Um,
so just kind of walk me through the lesson then, because I know this is the you're trying to fit the PBL into this.
yeah. Um, I did. I did more so. Kind of like I didn't want to like run into like a 40-minute video, but it was there at the end, and they were working on it, and um, I guess I could speak to that first. Um, what I wanted to do was to scaffold it. So the 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 graphic organizer was used when they were doing their individual research. That
Mhm.
was a stepping stone into the PBL because they were um, between the two people working together. Um, they were debating the merits of their topics, and which would make for a more interesting radio broadcast. So um, that's what my goal was um, setting out this lesson was to like do like graduated steps so that
Mhm.
they could do it together. Um, I got some really heated well, not arguments, but discussions between some of the people because they really wanted to do their own they thought their topic was a lot better than their partners, but they relented because they were not as good a negotiator as their partner was. Um, and there were deals made, and there were coffees bought, and candies. Yeah, um, but I mean, if if I didn't have to do the PBL, I would have done something a lot different. But because
Mhm.
it's part of the standard and you have to hit it, we did it. The next day, we did a session on how to write for radio. It's something I did in high school and in college. I had a little radio show on community radio, and so they worked on their scripts. On Wednesday, they're going to work on their scripts. Thursday, they might start recording. I'll I said I would take home their scripts, go over them, edit them, edit them for grammar, not for content, and then give them back on
Mhm.
Thursday, and then they would have a chance to record their scripts either on my computer. They can use their phones. We have a little studio at the school, but it's not digital. It's analog, and I don't know how to move. I don't know how to move from analog to digital. I mean, I can
Okay.
record. I can record analog. That's what I grew up on, but I don't know how to move it to a computer. So that's what we're going to
Okay.
do this week. Um, so yeah, I guess that's standard five. Yeah, that's standard five, part one. Um,
Mhm.
part two, because I let them, I gave them carte blanche. I didn't hem them in on any topics. They could do whatever they wanted. Um, a bunch of the girls, they chose topics about China.
Okay.
Um, one girl wanted to do the Battle of Britain. She was the only one who did something from Europe. Um, Bruce did Iwo Jima. They
Mhm.
did like Marco Polo Bridge. There was the one girl who wanted to do the whole war with Japan and China, and I was like, "That's a huge topic. That's over 8 years. Maybe we could like focus." And then she wanted to do um, the Nanjing Massacre, which is
Okay.
something which is something near and dear to people here. So I was like, "Yeah, go for it. That's good." So they were able to um, use what they were comfortable with as opposed to Eurocentric um, a Eurocentric thing. Oops.
Sure. Sure. Yeah. And I picked up on that.
And and that's fine with me, even though we're like AP European history. Even in the
Mhm.
AP European history book, it talks about like Okinawa. There's a section on Japan, so because AP is American. So I mean
Sure.
that, and that's fine. That's fine with me. I don't have it as long as they do something, and as long as it hits all the boxes in my rubric. I don't care. At this point, they're good. Um, what else? I kind of skipped over um, standard four because I had standard five up on my computer. Um,
No problem.
Standard four, I thought it did pretty good. The first part, um,
Mhm.
I gave them. I don't know if you noticed in the video when they were doing their individual assignments, I gave them a list of websites they could go um, to get multiple perspectives. Um, the only problem I had was with the Chinese ones. I couldn't, um, the Chinese internet is very different than the Western internet. So,
Mhm.
but the kids were more than happy to go search that themselves. But I gave them like um, publicly funded websites, privately funded websites, American, English, Australian, Canadian, so they could get multiple um, perspectives on the topic. Um, when I went onto the websites, um, I went to the places that they would need to go on the individual websites and post a URL so they're not wasting a lot of time bouncing around a website they may not be familiar with. And I let them go on Wikipedia.
Mhm.
I think I said it's not that kind of assignment because usually I don't let them use Wikipedia because it's not for me, I don't care, but their university professors will definitely care. So might as well get them in the habit of of not using it as um, a reference source.
I tell you, the one of the benefits of Wikipedia, right? When Wikipedia first came out, there wasn't a lot of um, data or information that was out there. So over the years, Wikipedia has become a lot more credible because a lot more people have actually reviewing the material, and there's been a lot more corrections. However, I like to use Wikipedia for its references. So if I look at something on Wikipedia, I'll go right down to the references and then use those references as resources.
Uh, um, yeah, I'll mention that to my students Wednesday when I have them next. Um, uh, the the bell ringer I used, it used prior knowledge from actually from a long time, well, not a long time ago, but like a month ago. Um, Bruce put up a post on a collaboration board about World War II. So we had a little uh, back and forth with him, bringing up his prior knowledge about stuff that he had learned. Couple of the girls, this was like their first class, so they had no prior knowledge. There's nothing I can do about that. And a couple of the other the other two girls were having technical difficulties that um, I had to stop filming and hop on their computers and fix the problem for them because just it just wasn't working. And um, that's one of the problems with working with technology here is sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't work. Um, I did have a chance to correct student misconceptions, so that was great. And I thought my use of instructional resources were, even though it was all within, well, it wasn't all within Nearpod, but you know, like close your eyes because I wanted them to listen because Nearpod doesn't allow me to post audio. So I had to have them close their eyes so they couldn't see the video. And then I asked them afterwards, why do you think I did this? Uh, Promote some higher thinking, which was a nice segue into the PBL. I think that went well. Um, I used pen and paper 1.0
Yep.
along with the technology. Well, my my module 3 teacher said um, pen and paper is technology.
Mhm.
So we brought that in, and I have some ideas for my next video with that because sometimes it's hard to show 6, 7, and 8. So I have some I have some ideas about that where I'm gonna have to use the pen and paper as differentiation.
Pen and paper fall under that low tech, right? You have low tech and high tech pen and paper. technology, but yeah, low tech. And then I just had a question, because I looked at your lesson plan and I obviously watched the video. So what was like the overarching question for the PBL? Could they could pick a moment in time in history or a moment in history.
Um, it was more just to activate their interest and to get them motivated to do something. Um,
Okay.
because we're coming up with almost a month left in class and they're starting
Yep.
to switch off, and there's not much I can do about that. Um, I would say it's just to get them. It's not even it's not even the course content that's important. It's it's the journey. It's it's how they get to the end of the project. So like they have to do research, they have to write a radio script, they have to record it, they have to present it. They, there's peer review. They also have a self review, which I didn't tell them they're gonna have until they present. I'm gonna drop that on them as a little bit of a surprise. Um, so I mean, sometimes it's the journey that's more important than the content. So the the history class is the vehicle for um the project, but it's not what's important, it's the process. It's they have to follow the steps, they have to in order to be successful. And I gave them copies of the rubric so they knew exactly what was expected of them.
Sure, right. And I also picked up 21st century skills. You know, there is a collaboration in there, there's communication, critical thinking skills, obviously with the research. Um, right. So several elements of that PBL uh were in that. Yeah, and I think I've watched this the same way that you just explained it as for one, you're working with a very specific demographic. It's the end of the school year. You have seniors, and you're trying to incorporate a project within this European history class. And you're right. And the goal is for them to take a topic, right? Do a little research, do some independent thinking about it, and then create this radio program at the end. And it's going to be interesting to see what they produce. But you're right. It's the journey. It gives them a different way of thinking, a different way of doing a class, a different way of putting together a project, and hopefully maybe just immersing them just a little bit into that time period to understand what was going on, right? So
Because
they can make other connections.
they don't really I mean they're all switched off. The only
Yep.
reason the only reason they're look switched on is because I buy them pizza after class.
Yeah.
That that's the only reason. Um, because the other teachers complain about the grade 12s because they're like they because they already got their college acceptance letters, so
Yep.
they're they're all they're gone. Like they're they're physically in the class, but they're not mentally there anymore. So
Sure.
it's actually it's very difficult. And the only reason I got their attention is I told them the project is worth 25% of their final grade. And I
Mhm.
also said because you chose to be in my class, you can work in, as partners. Those that are not here do this individually,
Mm.
and they thought that was a fair deal. Um,
Yeah. Yeah. I know it's tough, but I thought again, I thought you did a good job. So I liked how you tested prior knowledge at the beginning to kind of draw all the students into that lesson before you actually introduce the agenda, right? So it's kind of like, what are we going to be studying? Let's test some prior knowledge. Okay, this is what we're going to be doing today. And I thought there was a fantastic use of technology to ensure students are paying attention, right? Because you had to watch the video, they had to answer a question before you could move on. So that made it, you made them engaged. They had no choice but to be engaged. And then you also asked some questions, which I thought were a nice way to gauge comprehension and understanding, right, within that video. And you mentioned something about there are no wrong answers, which I thought was great because that helps promote a growth mindset and hopefully makes everybody relax a little bit more. Um, Encourages class participation, which I don't know because I really didn't see any class participation in the video. But it's by saying that there is no wrong answer, hopefully a lot more students would be encouraged to participate. And then after that, you had to write the video, right? But the video was also a nice way to introduce the topic because we hadn't even gotten to the topic at this stage yet. And then once we got to the topic, instructions were clearly communicated both verbally and physically on the board. I like how you do that just to kind of reinforce what you're going to be doing or the objectives are. And I thought the final project was going to work for this class. It encouraged them to find something they were interested in. And obviously from our discussion right here, so you had some students, it seemed like some students were very passionate about their topic, right? So which is fantastic. Uh, like you said, there were some debates about which topic each group was going to go with because they were that passionate over it, and that's kind of what you want. I imagine, I mean, especially this late, with students being checked off, they weren't like, yeah, whatever, I'll just do whatever you want. It's kind of like, no, I like this, I like my topic, and everyone's like, well, I like my topic as well. And so that it does show that they are still engaged in your class and still like learning, right? I mean, if they're having those discussions, then they definitely want to learn a little bit more before the end of the school year. And as I already mentioned, with this project, you did build in 21st century skills, right? You do have a lot of the elements of a PBL. You do have that culminating project, which is going to be the radio broadcast, that's going to be very interesting.
Well,
But
it's not. I'm sorry.
yeah,
It's not like it's not something they can relate to the real world. Eh,
no,
But then I teach history, so it relates to history, which because we had that discussion, why did I have you close your eyes? Bruce said, "Oh, it's because this is, like there weren't a lot of TVs back then. There weren't a lot of, um, every I think there was like 5,000 TVs in the world at that time. So nobody's watching TV. They were getting the news from the radio or from. So I wanted to make it topical to the subject because to do a vlog, which was my other option, I
mhm,
didn't think fit
mhm.
fit the course.
Yeah, and I think going with the radio broadcast is spot on for that time period because it even draws them further back into that time period because then you have to think, okay, your audience can't see you. How do you present the information to that audience, right? So they can visualize what is actually happening. And I don't know. I mean, and that develops critical thinking skills and creativity, right? There's going to have to be an element of creativity, and they're all doing it while hopefully having a good time with the project, right? They're learning at the same time, and that's what you want. And
Yeah.
yeah, hopefully they'll enjoy it. Hopefully the final products.
Hopefully it'll be good and maybe maybe during my last class we'll present. I think that'll be the one to show. That will be the 1 through 10, which I'm I'm actually worried about because I don't know if you could hit all or like 1 through 8. I don't think
Yeah,
you can hit all 8 standards in one video.
you can, and you'll see that even with your baseline video, you hit a ton of standards. We just didn't point them out. So for 1 through 3, it'll be you won't be going over norms and expectations, but you'll be greeting the students. Um, you'll know how your students learn. You'll be using age appropriate terminology, things like that. So that'll fit in. 4, content knowledge. So you'll be able to demonstrate content knowledge. Five, definitely not the PBL, but there might be elements of five that you can show. Six is formative assessment. So you might just have formative assessment. It could be observation, it could be discussion. Those all fall into that formative assessment category. And then 7 and 8 are about strategies and approaches. So if you're using different strategies and approaches, you'll be able to hit 7 and 8. So it's not as
Daunting.
challenging as you think. It's could be 1 through 8. You'll hit most of them within that lesson.
Yeah. And then it'll be over. Um, but actually,
And it'll be,
actually, um, Moreland did help me find a new job because
oh, good.
I I I had a job interview this week and or last week, and I did they wanted an online demo. So I made a Nearpod presentation, and they had never seen it before. They're like, you actually put work. Well, I created, well, even though it was like all adults, I created student-centered learning, and they were, you know, I wish that could have been my video because it was just like bang, bang, bang. And it was a topic I have no back. They want me to teach English lit, which is not something I ever studied in school. I mean, yeah, I studied in school, but not at the university level. So, and they're like, like you're the first person who ever put together a presentation. Usually we just talk to them. And I was like, well, you told me to do a demo, so I made a demo for you. And
Mhm.
and it was just like bang, 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 bang. And it was beautiful, and like everything that I had learned in this program, um, because when I was doing my BED, we weren't big on student-centered learning. That was like uh 20 years ago, about 20 years ago. So, we were still doing chalk and talk.
Yeah.
That's how old it is. So like I'm like, if you want me to chalk and talk, I'm not the person for you because I think that's boring. That's boring for me, and that I have to be as engaged as my students are when I'm teaching. So like, yeah, and it's really nice to see how I could apply everything I've learned so far, and I'm continuing to learn uh, to help me grow professionally, and that's really good.
That's fantastic to hear. And even though I've been teaching here for a while, I agree with those comments. I mean, just we take you through, what you need to be successful, right? Differentiation. We talked about PBL's game-based learning. Then we talked about, norms, expectations, all that classroom management. And you can see how you can apply that easily when
Yeah,
you start teaching. And a lot of times you might be doing these things, but you just don't know the terminology behind it. So we just kind of give you the terminology, formative assessments, summative assessments, things like that. You're doing assessments anyway. Yeah, homogeneous things.
yeah. So
Um,
it's actually like, yeah, I'm pretty I'm
it's
pretty pumped, but I'm probably gonna do my video. Uh, I'll still keep to the Moreland schedule, but uh, the week of the first, we're gonna be on holiday for a week, and that's the
Mhm.
week of filming. So I'm going to probably I'll film not this week but next week, uh, and
Okay.
then just keep it keep it in my back pocket. I might actually do two videos, and start preparing for my fifth video so that I can have a bunch of different examples, and then I can choose the best one, or I could wear the same clothes, and because they're all wearing uniforms, I can wear the same clothes every day, and then um it looks like um it's one complete video, but it might be like over 2 or 3 days.
Yeah. I think you're gonna be fine. I mean, we're looking at showing progress. I mean, you've already tossed in the Nearpod and some other things, right?
I
So it's,
tried I tried the other things that you suggested, and I didn't like them.
okay. Yeah, and that's it. Some things you like and some things you won't.
I like Nearpod. I think it's like PowerPoint on steroids. And
Mhm.
that's how I sell it to my coworkers. I'm like, if you can use PowerPoint, you can use Nearpod, and you can do so much with it. And
Mhm.
a couple of them are starting to use it in their classrooms as well. So I've become a little bit of a Pied Piper for Nearpod. And
Nice.
the place that I interviewed with, they also had never seen it before, and they he asked me, "Is it like free?" I was like, "Yeah, it's totally free, but um, maybe you should spend the money because you don't get a lot of storage unless you want to create multiple accounts." Um,
Mhm.
but and just helping other teachers, just not helping them become better teachers, but more efficient teachers. And I think that's one of the goals that um, Moreland really what should be pushing is you're um, because we're learning new techniques now, techniques that your coworkers don't know about, then you can kind
Yeah.
of um, I don't want to say evangelize, but you know what I mean. Like you can like like we had a meeting and I showed my coworkers how I do my classes and they're like, wow, this is pretty cool. So that was pretty good. Yeah.
Ah, that's good. Um, so when do you want to meet again?
Um,
Right,
let's
it's not
check.
gonna be for,
It's not gonna be for a while.
right, it's just,
Uh,
I
let's
think if you just give me a heads up like you did before,
yeah,
I'll know that that Sunday coming up, we'll be getting together.
yeah. I'll just check my schedule and then I can tell you. May the 5th, so six. May the 7th would be the next time.
All right, I'll put that on my calendar.
Perfect. So I will let you go. Enjoy your Sunday. I'm gonna go prepare my classes for the week and then yeah,
All right, sounds good.
talk
Well, have a good week.
talk to you later.
Yep, bye.